Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded January 29th, 2017, and it's titled Back to the Basics 3, How to Use It. Today's affirmation, I courageously claim God's good as my good now. Today we welcome the spirit, voice, and artistry of Kenny Dye. If you come to joyouspodcast.com, you'll see in the show notes links to her website and also Facebook page. And if for some reason you can't find the episode, on the top right on joyouspodcast.com, you can search for anything to bring up the show notes. Come visit us at seasidecenter.org and join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that awaits you.
Happy Sunday. Hope everyone is having a wonderful time. We're so glad you're here. It is my honor, as it is every Sunday, to introduce our wonderful guest artists. And I just love that Seaside is all about the music. Don't you love that? That's such an important part here. So thank you so much for making it be such an important aspect of what we do here. So, and today we have a beautiful artist here with us. This is only her second time here, so we're really grateful that she's back. And she's just got a beautiful spirit. Her songs are beautiful with wonderful messages. And so we're so glad she's back. And we're grateful she's here right now because she's actually going to be going out on tour this year. So we're happy to catch her here before she leaves for a little while. But we'll definitely have her back when she's back in town. And if you're moved by her music, please see her. She does have CDs after the service, and you can check out where she's performing on her website, which is kennydye.com. So without further ado, please help me welcome Kenny Dye.
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. You guys are so spoiled here to get to listen to Rebecca sing every week. I can listen to that girl sing all day. My name is Kenny. This first song that I'm going to do, it's called It's Gonna Be Okay. It's a newer song of mine. And I was in a pretty dark place where I didn't know. I received a pretty traumatic phone call, and it changed my life forever. And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where to go. And something inside of me very early one morning said, pick up your guitar. And I fought, and I didn't want to. And I did. And this song came out of me in 45 minutes, and I, through a lot of tears and not even knowing what was happening, this is what came out. And in my darkest moment, this light of hope came through, and I am still here today and fortunate enough to share this song with you.
Half alive and barely breathing, trying to survive. But with a little bit of luck, I can make it through the night. To see the sunrise another day while keeping up my fight. Moving slowly, feeling all the pain, and taking with me all there is to gain. I can walk away now knowing I am stronger. The battle may be done, but the war I face will go on even longer. Gonna be okay.
That is Kenny Dye. Woo. Hey, we're all about the music. What about a little bit of talk here? Come on. We got a little talk going on in here. All about the music. Did she say it was all about the music?
A lot about the music.
There you go. It can be all.
Is important.
I love it. It can be all about the music. That is good. Anyway, we love the music you bring us, and Kenny, you are just fabulous. Thank you so much. Perfect song. It's all going to be okay. We're going to rise. We're going to rise. We're going to rise. I got to tell you, I haven't seen a uniting of ministers across denominations like I have this week with their religious freedoms being challenged. Oh my goodness. The ministers across denominations are taking a stand. And what I'm just reminded is sometimes, we're going to have to stand with our brothers and sisters if we want to have our spiritual faiths maintained. And so we got to stand with others sometimes, even if it's not our own belief. It's just to be mocked or ridiculed or detained or silenced or mistreated because you are speaking your moral conscience is just not right. It is, if we want a just and free society, we have to be willing to sustain, nurture, and protect our religious freedom. And this country has been built on that. I mean, from the very beginning, when the Pilgrims arrived here in Plymouth, it was all about the freedom of being able to have the spiritual belief and faith of one's choosing. They connected with the Native Americans and their philosophies and shared meals. I read the Mormons' position that came out this week. They said, we traveled across the country so we could have a space so we could practice what we believe is our moral conscience, what is true in our heart and our soul. And what I know right now is religious science, which is our philosophy, is about action. Ernest Holmes says you treat, which is our prayer, you treat and you move your feet. And it's all about freedom. The very first page of The Science of Mind, which is our textbook, talks about the word freedom, as I've shared with you, 4, 5, and 6 times. On the first page, it is imperative. It is to our philosophy. It is about being free in our life. And Ernest says, and we're going over the initial chapters of The Science of Mind. Today, we're wrapping up the 4th chapter of the intro to The Science of Mind called How to Use It. The first line, the first paragraph of that chapter, he says, the great difficulty of the new order of thought is that we indulge in too much theory and too little practice. That we must prove this philosophy. Otherwise, it may or it may not be true. But if you prove that it is true, then it must be true. Anyone can run around and say, hey, there are no sick. But it doesn't heal what appears to be the challenge. Anybody can say there are no needy, whether they be wise or otherwise. In other words, guys, it's not about just talking freedom's important to us, even though it's in the first page, even though it's an inalienable right. But am I willing to take my spiritual practice to the streets? Am I willing to do what I am called to do in my life and say, you know what? This spiritual philosophy is about action. We treat and we move our feet. We just don't sit around and talk about it and go, whoa, isn't that not right? We have been given the spiritual tools. Now, what are we going to do with them in our life and in our world? It comes down to our action with what's going on. And so we can rise again. We can take a stand. We can maintain. We can protect and we can nurture that which is near and dear to our heart. And it may take, some strength to do that. So often we think, isn't peace just a sweet kind of thing? Peace is sweet. But take a look at Martin Luther King and Gandhi. They were ferocious in their practice of it. And we're going into the season for nonviolence pretty quick here. And, it's about taking a stance for peace in our life and upon our planet. And people say with grace, isn't it just like a gentle thing? How come my world, I pray on grace and nothing seems to happen? Well, you got to do something. It'd be nice to be able to just pray, and lie in bed and have the checks float in the window. It could be possible if you got enough faith. I haven't seen it happen yet, but, I am not opposed to it happening. But what I know for myself is that, really, I think I'm in the grace for me is going to make sure I'm living in this world doing my dharma, doing my purpose, doing that for which I've been called to do. I think my soul and my spirit will grow as I engage in life and begin to develop who I am and begin to practice those spiritual truths in my expression in all situations, that I begin to discover more of who I am, that I've come into this world to contribute, that I've come into this world to give. I have a gift to give, as well as a lesson to learn and something to understand and insights to gain. And I do that through engagement in relationship, in career, in life. And it's not just lying in bed and opening the window and hoping my good will gracefully blow in, but rather it's taken my body and my spirit into action, into the street with the spiritual principle that God is omnipresent, and right where I am most stirred is the place God is waiting to be called forth into expression. And that takes a new kind of sight. You know, how to use is what this chapter is about. It takes a new kind of seeing. What happens so often is we're so busy looking at where we've come from. You know, we've got that rear view mirror kind of look, and then we wonder how come it keeps repeating itself in our life? How come I keep finding myself stuck in like the same situations? Well, it's because I keep looking as to what my past has been, and I keep perpetuating that, or I keep perpetuating the headlines, as opposed to calling forth a new vision, a new possibility, and speaking that, proclaiming it, not fighting, but proclaiming the spiritual kingdom and the truth in life that I'm living. It takes courage to learn from the past what's in that mirror, but not live there. And the science of mind gives us how to do that. We can find what Ernest wrote in his book, The Science of Mind, in the last of these 4 basic chapters that we've been addressing. This one is how to use it. And he wrote that a practitioner, which is all of us, you know, we've got licensed practitioners who have spent a lot of years becoming, you know, a professional and honing their craft and being licensed. But a practitioner is anyone who practices. Uses thought definitely for a specific purpose. And the more definitely one uses the law, that's the law. It's always working. You heard Rebecca talk about that. The more directly it will respond to them. A false fact is neither a person, place, nor thing to the one who uncovers it. And once uncovered, it has no place to hide. Hey, I see you. Yep, you're a lie. You know, you can't. While it is true that wrong conditions do exist, they could not remain unless there is someone to experience them. And consequently, the experience must be conscious. Change the consciousness and the false condition will disappear. Because conditions are not entities, we're the entity. Cannot that which is conscious cast out that which has no consciousness? I mean, if we properly understood, we would be able to remove the false conditions as easily as Jesus did. He knew our faith. He knew his faith. Ours isn't quite there. We must have the strength, and then we can do it. Yeah, confirmation. So the law is what he's saying, the law works. It is everywhere. It's omnipresent, right? The law, it's a principle. It's not it doesn't have personality. Whoever uses it, it's going to work. A law or principle is like gravity, right? If you were to jump off a cliff, you're going down. Doesn't matter who you are, prince or pauper, you're going down. That's a principle, right? That's what we're working with. You know, it's done unto you at the level of your consciousness, or as Jesus said, as you believe. This is how it works, though. You've got to move it through you and allow it to come through, because what's out there that is appearing very real is not really a person, place, or thing. Do I want to blame this person, or I want to blame this situation? What it is it's the manifestation. It is the rising. And if I can begin to change my thoughts and realize I'm not going to participate in that, then we begin to take the power back. We hear so much about the power of positive thinking. Man, I stand up here and jump around all the time, talk about the power of positive thinking, slam on, hey, yeah. Not very often do you hear people doing the same thing about the power of negative thinking. You know, there's just as much power in negative thinking as there is in positive thinking, because the law doesn't care if it's positive or negative. You can stick a blender in that socket and you can have a wonderful daiquiri for us all to enjoy, or you can stick your finger in there and fry. You know, it doesn't care. You know, the law doesn't care if you're using it for positive or negative. And if you're choosing to read the headline and say, whoa, this is horrible stuff that's going on, or if you're looking in the rearview mirror and say, I got to get away from that, and you keep bringing it with you, the law doesn't care. It will continue to replicate that in your life. And so what we want to do is catch that higher vision of a greater possibility that we are free from the constraints and the mistreatment of the constrictions that are put upon those that embrace and believe the littleness. There's infinite possibilities. And let your prayers be such that it is Spirit that is expressing through you that higher vision, that greater possibility. Now, because a lot of our prayers is something that I think I want. But a lot of times what I want may not really be for the best. I mean, I think we're pretty clear. It is we know what it is we want, but it's not always going to be that which will bring us happiness. And if I can just couch my prayers, hey, God, Spirit, life, greater intelligence, that which created all things, let your will happen here, not mine. I'll speak from the highest level of my understanding, but I got to tell you, some of my prayers may be, I love what Saint Teresa of Lisieux, that's France, said. She said, I thank God that not all my prayers were answered. You know? I got to remember one of the first prayers I did for somebody who was a minister was to pray to get married to this person. They got married and they came back a year later asking a prayer to get out of that relationship. You know? Let not our prayer come from, a sense of fear or lack or little-mindedness or fear or anxiety or neurosis or competition or compulsion or obsessed with trying to be better than anyone and everything else. That kind of little-mindedness is going to create a challenge in our world, and you will be attracting into your life, who knows what from that kind of place. The law of attraction we know about, but there's also the law of repulsion. It will repulse anything that doesn't match the vibration that you are. And so if you're working on that harmony and the peace and love, that's what you can pull in. But, that which doesn't match your vibration falls away. Friends, lovers, jobs, situations. You can't force the wrong puzzle piece into a hole that doesn't fit. There's another piece for that. And so as we begin to work in a conscious kind of way on how to bring forth that Spirit in our life in a way that honors that which I came here to do, and realize those areas that want to take away the freedom is probably not the place I want to hang out. Though I want to speak of the infinite possibilities that await and are possible. But I'm not going to lose myself. I like the story of Harrison Ford. You may know his story. He came to Hollywood, get a radio show or something, didn't work out. So he ended up, instead of waiting tables, because waiting tables wasn't his thing, he became a carpenter. He started building things, and he got occasional jobs at the studio. It was on their list. He was on the low end of the extra list, no speaking parts, just kind of in there. But he started building decks and rooms for some of the people around there. And George Lucas, when he was doing American Graffiti, cast him in that, which was a nice role, but it didn't really launch his career. And so he went back to what he enjoyed doing. It wasn't waiting tables. It was carpentry. Not that one is wrong or the other. I mean, the passion is to be the actor, but if you can't be doing that right now, you at least could be doing something you can be doing that brings you joy. And when he heard about Star Wars going on, he showed up at the interview, so the story goes, with his carpenter belt and read for the part of Han Solo, and boom, that was the beginning of his career being launched in that higher kind of way. And so I share that when things aren't just necessarily perking at the level in which you want it to be, it's time for you to weed out those fears, those concerns, the anxiety that are cropping up in the consciousness. No gardener is going to intentionally go out and plant weeds in their garden. It doesn't mean I don't get weeds in my garden. But I got to pull them out. So just in my mind, when those fears start creeping in, what I got to do is start pulling those out, because a visionary thrives in all conditions. It's good. Yeah, me too. Oprah Winfrey said, the chance to love and be love is anywhere you are. Got that? Thrive in all conditions, love anywhere you are. Walt Whitman, he said, happiness and knowledge are not in another place, but this place, nor another time, this time. See, we talk about Spirit being omnipresence, with its omnipotence, with all its power, right where I am, in the biggest concern that I've got going on in my life or in my nation or on this planet. There is much Spirit, and it doesn't know large or small. Gravity doesn't care if it's a pebble or a boulder. It's going down. Spirit doesn't know large or small. And if there is a big thing that is grasping your field of awareness, you are the one who gets to decide, okay, I need to do something here. I got to be greater than this. Joel Goldsmith, he's one of those legends in the New Thought movement. He's absolutist in his thinking. Fun to read because there is no room for really being human too much with his thinking. He comes out of Christian Science, and at the absolute level, he's right on. But he shares that when he used to be a businessman, sales, selling things, and was very successful. All of a sudden, things weren't selling quite like they were, and he wasn't as successful as he was, and all of a sudden it started going really south. He had all the practitioners, praying for him and doing his prayers, and the more they prayed, the worse it got. And he said, pray, I need better business. And what he thought that meant was more sales and more orders coming in. Once again, right? You're praying for what you think is right, but you know what? It's not always what will make you happy. Finally, and he was no longer selling anything, and in 1 week, 3 different people said, Joel, what are you still even doing in this business? You should be working as a healing practitioner. It's like he got it. So he got an office and he opened up, and all the prayers that the practitioner buddies had been praying for him started downloading. And his door, there was lines out his door with people who were waiting to see him, and his business flourished. I share that about stepping into that flow, that spirit. It's like you got to step in the flow because you got the spirit in you. See, how it works is you got to take action. You got to give spirit a moving target. It's in you. And like what I mean by in you, it's not like in that compartment where last week we talked about that you're like not really hanging out in because there is no compartment in there. It's in you like a structural engineer was contracted to build a bridge. Where they go? They go within to catch what is to look like, what's to feel like. They sit in the space, they begin to see and they vision, but it emerges from within. That makes sense? Like Kenny. Where did that song come from that she sung? It came from within. Where does this spirit deliver to you from? But from within. And so what you want to do is step in the flow. You want to step into that place and know that spirit flows through you. It's the natural state. What's it say? Was it Matthew where it says, do not concern yourself about your life or what you're going to eat or what you're going to drink or about your body or what it is you're going to wear. Spirit knows that you have need of these things. Spirit knows. It's God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But it's got to be yours to receive it. You're the ones who got to say, okay, I get it. I'll take it. Bring it on. I'm good with that. This is how you use it. You take these spiritual principles, and Urs said, difficulty is we indulge in too much theory and too little practice, and put it to practice with where you are being irked. I don't know if I ever used that word until today. But where these spiritual principles aren't for just conceptual. It's where your heart is broken. It's where your dream is big. Because there is no large or small, only in our mind. Ernest Holmes. So we do this by putting those seeds. I talked about pulling out the weeds. Well, we put in the good seeds. And these good seeds we do are affirmations by all means. But what we're teaching in the foundation class right now is spiritual mind treatment. And we're doing a workshop, or Jenny's doing it, Saturday the 18th. And I like to say one goes to a medical practitioner, when their body's hurting for, physical treatment. And one goes to a spiritual practitioner, for a spiritual mind treatment. So that's kind of our unique name for prayer. That is kind of the jargon that most people in the world don't know what we're talking about. But, there they are. Okay. Yeah, I could have read this without them, but why bother? Anyway, so from this chapter on how to use it, Ernest writes, the treatment, that's our prayer. It's a spiritual entity in the mental world and is equipped with the power and the volition. As much power and volition as there is faith in it. Given to it by the mind of the one using it and operating through the law. It knows exactly how to work and what methods to use and just how to use them. But we do not put the power into the word. But we do let the power of the law flow through it. And the one who most completely believes in the power will produce the best results. For this is the law of cause and effect. We should work not with anxiety, but with an expectancy, and not with a coercion. Like, oh, come on, I'm going to hold this up real good. No. Not with a coercion, but with a conviction, and not through compulsion, but in a state of conscious recognition and receptivity. We do not have to drive or push, but what we must do is believe and accept. For the patient should try to be receptive and not to the will of the practitioner, but to the purpose of the universe. So often I watch people working so hard to have their prayers happen. I'm going to mock up this picture and hold it. That's not it. That's not it. The power is already there. The know-how is already there. Whether it's your life, whether it's national, or whether it's global. The power to bring things back into balance is already present. Just like the engineer's idea comes from within, so does what needs to take place next come from within. And I'll often cast my prayers on a specific something that I think is best, but how to use it best is to know not my will, but thy will. The greater good for all concerned is what needs to unfold here. And our prayers are wonderful. Real quickly, I'll tell you the 5 steps. It's not the only way to pray, but it is a way to pray. You have this idea in mind, and the first thing you do is you unify, or you recognize spirit. I mean, that's the way it works. I recognize spirit, that life force, that intelligence, that which is all things, the absolute, infinite, inexhaustible, first cause, first ball, spirit, God. Right? And then if spirit's everything, I'm one with that. So the second step of our prayer is first you recognize that power, and you recognize, if God's everything, then I'm that. I'm not all of it, but I am that. And so the first step is recognize it, I'm one with that, and if I'm one with that, then it's spirit speaking. So the third step is the realization of the spiritual truth of the situation from the God perspective. Got that? Should I repeat it? 2 yeses, 1 no. You realize the spiritual truth of the situation from the God perspective. That's the meat of the prayer. First one is recognize God, I'm one with that, and then Spirit speaks the truth. If God spoke the truth, in the beginning was the Word, then, it all happens. So you couldn't help but to be grateful, which is the 4th step. Naturally, Spirit speaks, it's done. Thank you. Not thank you, God, because you are that expressing, right? It's thank you. It's a sense of appreciation. It's a sense of gratitude. Not thank you, something outside. It's like, thank you. Man, this is so. And you let it go. It's like you put the seed in the ground. You don't keep digging it up to see if it's growing. You put the seed in the ground and you let it go. That's the last step of the prayer. You let it go. You let Spirit take it away. Take it away, Spirit. And do your thing. Do your magic. Though it's not magic, but it can appear to be that way. I read this wonderful article. I don't know if you know James O'Day. He was the president of the Institute of Noetic Science. Noetic science was, started by the astronaut Edgar Mitchell, very scientific in its spiritual approach. Anyway, James O'Day, he wrote this article, just came out, and he was talking about the millennials and Generation Z. Those are the ones that were born after the millennium. And he said these kids, they were raised with the emergence of Harry Potter and the reemergence of Lord of the Rings. They grew up in believing in magic and heroes and villains and wizardry. They believe in the possibilities of a Gandalf the Grey or Lord Voldemort or Albus Dumbledore. Is that close? Pretty close. Anyway, this is just a natural way of thinking. This is their perspective. And so those of us that are still caught looking in the rearview mirror or trying to do things that were successful in our era of doing things, there is a new emerging generation that says, you know what, there's greater possibilities here, and I've got to look over this. I don't need to overcome this, but rather there is something greater that wants to emerge. And so what he wrote that I liked, that I will read without my glasses since they're over there, is... He said that in 2017, and it's a prediction. It's like some good news. At least I think it's good news. And every Sunday during our season for nonviolence, which is going to be the next 64 days around here, we're going to be sharing a piece of good news because the headlines I'm tired of reading. So we're going to share with you good news. And so what James wrote about is that in 2017, here's his prediction, coming in President in student-noetic sciences. He said, 2017, the millennials and their cohorts will awaken the greatest cross-generational collaboration ever witnessed on planet Earth, introducing extraordinary new technology in sustainability, energy, and healthy lifestyles. With real magic and mind-blowing wizardry, they are going to transform destructive competition into creative collaboration. And finally, they're going to create a movement for a new kind of visionary and integrity politics. And he ends with this line here that says, and so if you see one of these budding magicians hiding in the wings, give them a push. It's their time on stage. So don't worry about the world moguls. They don't expect hobbits anyway. So you know what? The good news is that we have carried the baton this far. The good news is we've been the geese cutting through, and it's time for the new visionaries and the new possibilities to emerge. And what it will do is create a better, healthier lifestyle and a way to be in the world in which we are. But we've got to let there be enough freedom for a difference of opinion to emerge and not to lock them up, not to silence them, and to say, hey, you're not welcome here, but to invite these individuals in who have different perspectives so we can begin to expand the consciousness for greater receptivity to the infinite possibilities that are seeking to emerge not only through them, but through you. God bless us as we make this happen in this world. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring Kenny back to our stage.
Love it. We were so on the same page today with my music and the message. This song is called When We All Walk Together, and I encourage you. I have CDs out in the foyer for sale, but it's on my website. It's out there. It's available. Find it, download it, share it, and use your voices and stand up and rise up all together as one.
When we all walk together neath the bright shining sun, when we all join in singing, the world will live as one. And when we all as love was meant to be, we will know no sorrow, and the world will live in peace. Sing on, sister. May your voice always be heard, alive with freedom in this life that you have made. And as you journey on, take the love that's here today. Oh, if we could all see each other as one humanity, maybe then we'd live forever in love eternally. Sing on, sister, share your word. May your voice always be heard, for life with freedom in this life that you have made. And as you journey on, take the love that's here today. as one.
That is Kenny Dye. Wow, an anthem for us. For to walk and march together. I like it. I like it.